today's project, we're going to take scrap vinyl to decorate this bow from Kmart to create this adorable bow. Let's make this. This week's inspiration comes from both Easter and the bows that are back. So these beautiful big satin bows were in when I was a kid, and now they've come back. They're all over Kmart. They're all over Big W. They're just everywhere. Lavisa, all of those places. And so I thought, why not combine Easter and this bow together and add some personalization? There's not a lot of personalization in the hair bow category or decorative components because it's pretty much the fabric that is your decorative component. So it was a little hard to find some imagery, but I think I found some, and let's see if it works. Not a lot of materials today. I've just got a standard grip mat because we're using some iron-on vinyl. I've got my bow that I got from Kmart for I think about $6 or $7, and I've got my folder full of leftover iron-on adhesive. We're going to do our project all in Design Space today. I'm going to start by creating a shape that represents the tails of the bow because that's where we're going to decorate. I've done a bit of measuring and I've worked out it's around about 15 centimeters wide each tail and 25 centimeters deep for each tail. So I'm going to start by creating a triangle that is that shape. So there's only one option in the free option, as I was hoping for a right angled triangle, but we don't have one. So I've got to then do a bit of slicing. So what I've done is I've created one triangle that is 30 centimeters across, 25 centimeters in height. And then I've got a square and I've just made it bigger than the triangle. I've lined it up in the middle of the triangle. And then I've just selected the triangle and the square and I've done a slice. Now, I thought I was going to end up with one triangle, but miraculously, I've ended up with the two triangles that are facing both ways that the bow does. So once I get rid of all of the other components, I'm left with those two triangles. So that's actually turned out really, really well. Now my next job is just to work out what I'm going to put on this design. So I think I'm just going to go with the word Easter. I've typed it twice, but I think I'm just going to use the same font for both. So I've chosen a Tuki Fantasy, which I think I must have downloaded from 1001 Fonts. And if you'd like to see how to download fonts from 1001 Fonts, check out my plant markers video from last year, and it goes step by step through 1001 Fonts. Now that I've got the font I've chosen, which I really like, but it's a bit too thin for weeding, and it's a little bit too thin in terms of whether or not it's going to stand out against that on that bow. So what I did, I have selected the word Easter, which is what I've typed previously, and then I'm going to create an offset. Now, I want a really thin offset, so I've gone with a 0.05 offset for this. And then I'm keeping the offset, but deleting the actual text. Now you can see that it still reads as Easter, but it has a little bit more heftiness or a bit more weight to it. So it means it's going to be easier, to weed, but also easier to see on the bow because it's going to stand out that little bit more. Now it's just a matter of playing around with where it's going to fit on the bow. So I'm just making some adjustments. I've made it about 16 centimeters in length because I think that will then make it stand out. It's not taking up the whole bow, but it is giving it a little bit more size. So it's going to be easy to read because these bows fold a bit. Obviously, when they're in your hair, they're an organic shape and an organic movement. So you need it to kind of stand out, but you don't want it to be overpowering. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's why I'm playing around with it. And I want it to fit in there really nicely and kind of line up a bit. Now, I'm playing around here with the alignment, but you don't have to because we're not going to print these as an aligned object. We're not going to attach the two words Easter. It's just a visual for me. So then the other thing I'm going to do is add some kind of imagery. So I've gone and chosen images from the left hand side and I've just typed in Easter. Now, I've thought about the bunny, I've thought about the chick, but I think going back to my Easter egg is probably the best thing to do. I do love the little Easter eggs this year. I'm going to go with the egg that's got that love heart at the top. I've used it in a previous project in this Easter playlist, so if you want to check that out. But yeah, I'm going to go with this one. So yeah, I think I'm going to choose two of these and place them around about the middle of the word in kind of a V configuration. So they're not straight up and down. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do that on both sides. And then we need to go to save. And I'm going to save it as Easter bow. And then before I make, I'm going to just get rid of those two triangles because we're not going to cut those out. They were just there as our visual aids. And then I'm going to hit make. And I want to make sure everything is on the same mat because it's not, I'm going to use similar vinyl types. So I'm not going to have to do two different kinds of cuts or anything like that. And so I'm just going to play around with it to fit the configuration of the vinyl I've got because I'm going to use leftover vinyl. So I'm going to use a silver chrome vinyl that I've used from Caesar before, and I'm also going to try and use the Kmart rainbow adhesive iron-on vinyl. So I'm going to use those two. They're just a regular iron-on vinyl, so everyday iron-on. So that's what I'm going to choose. I've made sure I've mirrored my project. This is an iron-on, and particularly because we are using words, we do need to mirror that project. And then let's go and make it. So now that everything's weeded, it is a pretty straightforward project. So I'm just using my Cricut mini press. I've got it on the second setting. I hope it's not going to be too hot for the bow. So for the preheat, I'm just going to put some baking paper over it because I just do worry. It is a satiny kind of fabric, the bow. So I don't want it to get overheated before I even start. So I'm just going to start with some baking paper over the top. I'm not sure I don't think I needed to do that precaution actually because, see, it's still wrinkly and I reckon that it can stand up to the heat of the mini press. But anyway, I'll have a go on the other side and see what happens there. So now it's just a matter of placing everything where it needs to be. I think this silver, it's currently my favorite, and it really sucks because Caesar are not making this one anymore, but this really chrome silver vinyl is so great, especially on these white fabrics. But I'm going to use a ruler here because I've got two different sides and I can't really put them side by side to line them up. So I'm just using a ruler. I've worked out about 4 centimeters from the point is probably a really good place to put the word Easter. So I'm going to put that down, then I'm going to give it an iron. So I'm going to make sure that I put my baking paper down on this one though. This vinyl, maybe this is why it's been discontinued, but this vinyl can be a little bit finicky when you iron it. So I'm just going to do some presses to push down on it and not give it too much heat, because I am going to have to put the eggs down as well. So I don't want to go too hard too fast, but just a bit of a press and then 1 or 2 swipes across is probably all I'm going to need. And then I've worked out that it is definitely a cold press. When I say I've worked it out, it's because I throw out the packaging too quickly. So I have to kind of work it out from feel. So I have worked out, though, that this is a cold peel. So I just need to leave that for a minute, 2 minutes. I do give it a little bit of a wave to cool it down, because that mat that we're using as the iron-on mat, it's actually retains its heat. So again, one of those things that you learn as you're going along. But I would leave it on there and then wonder why it was taking so long to cool down. And it turns out it's because it's maintaining that heat. It's like an ironing board. So give it a bit of a cool down, and then see when I lift this, it's beautiful. Gosh, I love this vinyl. Isn't it cute? It's so shimmery and just looks so perfect. I love it. All right, now that I've done the Easter, the next thing is just to place these eggs. Now, I could have cut around the transfer a little bit closer, so I could do both the eggs at once, but I don't think that's really necessary. It's a very quick project, so, step by step rather than trying to do everything as quickly as possible is probably a good way of not making mistakes. So again, just pressing down. This iron-on vinyl is the Kmart one. Now, I love it, and I don't know why this is so amazing, because it's a Kmart brand, and other things, particularly their adhesive vinyl, is horrendous to use. But their iron-on and this rainbow is just so delightful, and I love it. And I just want to use it all the time. But it's really, it's interesting how often you don't need rainbow shiny vinyl on your projects. But if I could find something where I can use it over and over again, I will, because I love it and I just think it's amazing. I hope it's even still in stock. I bought this last year, and look at it. Look at that egg. Oh, it's so cute. I love it. So I've decided to go with the pink, red, yellow egg, as well as a blue greeny one. And so then on the other side, it'll have a yellowy and a bluey green one as two. So they're a little bit different, rather than trying to make it look like I'm matching them. And again, it's just a press down, let it cool a little bit, and then take that backing off. While that cools down, I'm just going to see if I can just use the mini press straight on the ribbon rather than using the baking paper, because see how creased it is, and I don't want it to, oh yeah, not a problem. So yeah, don't worry. Maybe just be careful if you're using an iron, but if you're just using the mini press like I am, you can just put it on that second level and you can just iron that and it's not going to burn. All right, now I'm just going to pull that final little bit of transfer, and oh, it's so cute. I do love it, that shimmery, shiny look of it. Oh, it's so nice. All right, I'm going to speed this up and I'm going to do the other side. Again, I'm going to measure 4 centimeters from the point and try and kind of mirror it. I'm not really fussed in making sure that it's perfectly mirrored, because as it drapes from your hair, you're not going to notice a little bit of it being off. So I'll just speed this up. Now look at it. Oh, if I was a little girl and I was going to my grandma's house wearing this, she would be just over the moon. I'm not saying that only kids can wear this, because actually, let's be honest, any of us could. But what a great little project, and I know this is dropping on a Sunday morning and it's Easter Sunday, but you can whip this up this morning and get that out to your party and when you're having lunch with everybody, and you'll be the star of the show. Because look at that glitter, that shine, that sparkle. It's amazing. I love it. Make sure that you do a iron over the top. I know this is not something that we're going to wash, necessarily, but just to make sure that it maybe lasts, because it is a once a year wear, so you don't want it to then be pulled up for next year. So make sure you do give it an iron. I love it. Yeah, so cute. Good one. I think the final product is really cute. It's so sweet, and I can just imagine a little girl turning up at grandma's Easter extravaganza wearing this beautiful bow in her hair and everyone just fawning all over her. I think this is a great project if you're a beginner because it uses a little bit of iron on vinyl and also trying to work out what a shape might look like that you are going to use in your project. So there's a couple of little techniques in there for the design space area. Otherwise, just a really cute idea if you're a seasoned crafter and are just looking for some new inspiration. Can't wait to see you next week for our next project. We're now out of Easter and we're just heading into some really cute projects for you to have a go at. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget, you can always jump on my Instagram, head over to my Etsy store, or even check out the videos YouTube recommends for you down below.